Today, I'm sharing why art making is one of the most powerful tools for your self discovery and healing journey. If you have done therapy, read the self help books, optimized your morning routines, and you still feel stuck in your head and disconnected from what is true for you, this episode is for you. Because here's the truth, most of us have learned how to think about our feelings instead of feeling them. But here's the good news, there is a more playful, embodied, and low pressure way to connect with yourself. And that is exactly what we are exploring in this episode. Hi, I'm Renata McElwainey, a creativity coach for neurodivergent and multi passionate women of color with over 10 years of experience in the creative industry and a lifetime creating for self care. And in this show, we explore creativity not just as a hobby, but as a tool for self discovery, healing, joy, and everything in between. So get cozy, grab your favorite drink, and let's get into it. Today, we are exploring a foundational question. Why is art making such a powerful tool for self discovery? And I want to talk about this topic because self discovery is at the heart of the work that I do with clients. It's not just about creating for the sake of creating or making pretty pictures, but it's about using the creative process to understand yourself on a deeper level. But like many ideas in personal development and self help, self discovery can become a buzzword that loses all of its meaning. So, in this episode, we are going to go back to the basics and explore what self discovery really means, how it connects to the act of creating, and why art making is such a powerful way to learn about who you are. So, let's dive in. First things first, let's briefly define what self discovery is. Self discovery is the ongoing process of getting to know who you truly are underneath the layers of expectations, conditioning, and survival habits that you have been picking up throughout your life. And it's about peeling back the layers of who you think you should be so that you can reconnect with your authentic thoughts, feelings, desires, and personal values. At its core, it's about growing your self awareness, which means that we are trying to understand what matters to you, what aligns with your values and personal goals, discovering what energizes and drains you, and how your past experiences continue to shape you today. So when we're disconnected from ourselves, life feels confusing, frustrating, and exhausting. But when we strengthen our self awareness, we move through life in a different way. We feel more at ease, more aligned, and more fulfilled. So, how does art make you fit into all of this? Well, the process of self discovery is built on reflection, on asking questions, naming emotions, and giving language to our inner world. But when we only approach this process by thinking, journaling, or analyzing, we stay stuck in our heads. We get caught up in the logical part of our brain. So, for example, when we're given the opportunity to talk about our experiences or things that have happened to us, and we talk about it, we describe it in a very matter of fact way. We retell the sequence of events, maybe even the facts or the research that we have done. We understand why a situation happened, but we don't want to have to feel the feelings that that situation might trigger in us, the way that our body is going to respond to remembering that situation. So this is something that I struggle with a lot because personally, I'm really comfortable thinking, strategizing, analyzing, using my brain basically. And it's really easy for me to get into exploring abstract concepts and imagining ideas. So a lot of the time I'm stuck in my head. And it's almost like I am a walking brain because I forget that I have a body, that I need to move, that I need to stretch, that I need to take breaks and exercise. And this is basically the same way that we treat our feelings. This is where art making really becomes so powerful because it gives our body and our intuition a voice. When you make art, you are moving, you are sensing, you are choosing colors and textures, and you're engaging your whole self, not just your mind. And I think this becomes a dialogue between your inner and outer world, or what appears on the page as you're making. Without reflection, art stays on the surface level and it becomes very focused on techniques and performance and aesthetics. Without creativity, self discovery can end up feeling really heavy, like an endless loop of introspection without an outlet for release. but together they're transformative because when you combine art making with reflection, you create a space to express, to witness what is coming up, and to understand yourself all at once. For me, this realization changed everything because for years, I basically focused on improving my skills and growing an audience. But when I started to create for myself, and not for others, I was forced to slow down and really contemplate and ask myself, why am I really creating for? And practicing letting go of the pressure to make something pretty, to make something aesthetic, really allowed me to connect with what I was truly feeling. And that is when self discovery really began for me. And I think this is a really common experience that a lot of people who have been trained as professional creatives tend to run into. We get really stuck in how things look and how it needs to be your style, this and that and the other. And we don't really allow ourselves to truly express what needs to come up. But this is great news for those of you who are not trained as professional creatives and are coming into this work without all that baggage, because you can just get into it. So that's really great news for you. Okay, so we talked about what self-discovery is and how art and self-discovery connect. So now let's talk about why art is one of the best ways to learn about yourself. As I have already been hinting at, there are many ways to deepen our self-awareness, whether it's therapy, journaling, meditation, being in solitude, traveling, etc. I think you get it. But what makes expressive art making so effective is that it often combines the benefit of all these different practices at once. You can regulate your emotions, engage with your whole self, as I have already talked about, relax, and you can learn about yourself with each creative session. And this is why I go so hard on practicing and developing a practice, because the more that you do it, the more that you can benefit. Let's continue and let me show you how it works. When you make expressive art, you are slowing down and relaxing. And we do this by taking the time to connect with ourselves, to tune into how we're feeling, and regulating our nervous system as we create. And like I said, it's less about aesthetics and perfectionism and more about expressing ourselves and giving language to what wants to be seen and heard. In this language is color, shapes, textures, movement, metaphor, and emotion. We also regulate our emotions by doing repetitive motions like you would when you're drumming or when you're moving or when you're painting. Creating a steady, coherent rhythm allows our nervous system to follow, and that creates a sense of calm and ease. And when you're more calm and more at ease, you're able to play and experiment and let go of control. Expressive art also allows us to bypass the verbal centers in our brain and tune into the sensory and emotional ones. This means that we can access parts of ourselves that might be hidden away and hard to talk about. It also offers us enough distance to feel safe. And what I mean is that by using metaphors, colors, or sound, we are creating a protective distance that allows us to process difficult emotions without getting overwhelmed. Those were some of the benefits related to regulating our nervous system, but there are other benefits that I also want to name. And one of them is meeting your inner critic. What we create, we can start to notice judgments, doubts, and our self talk. With this awareness, we can start to create change in ourselves by developing a more gentle and encouraging, compassionate way of talking to ourselves. Because the truth is that a lot of us are really harsh with ourselves. We are very demanding, judgmental, and that makes it really hard to create or to get to know ourselves. So this is a really important benefit from creating regularly. Another benefit is entering the flow state with more ease. You learn to observe without judgment and you get lost in the process of creating instead of overthinking. And so the more that you practice this, the more that you discover that no matter where the process takes you, everything always ends up working itself out exactly the way that it was meant to. And this is powerful because it helps us to build self-trust and connection to our intuition. Another benefit is getting out of your head and into your body. As I mentioned earlier, art making allows us to be fully engaged with the process of creating. And this means that sensations, movements, emotions are all present as we create, not just your mind. And the last benefit that I have listed here is reflection and integration. When you take time afterwards, after you create, to pause and notice what came up during your creative session, insights and meaning emerge. And this is gold. These are the discoveries that you want to take with you and integrate into your daily life. The more that you repeat this process, the more that you are going to learn about yourself. It becomes a cycle where your art inspires your life and your life inspires your art. And it's a very symbiotic relationship. As you can see, art making is not just about making pretty pictures. It's an intentional, gentle, and low pressure way to practice connecting with your true self and expressing your genuine feelings, thoughts, and dreams. This healing modality is ideal for those of us who are recovering perfectionists and overachievers who are learning to approach personal growth with curiosity instead of control. So today we covered what self-discovery really means, how it intertwines with art making, and why creativity can be one of the most powerful mirrors for your inner world. Art helps you to meet yourself not through logic, but through color, texture, movement, and emotion. That's it. That's the episode. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate the show. This really helps the show reach more creatives who need to hear this message. And if you want more creative nourishment, reflections, and prompts, join my newsletter. This is where I share more personal stories and any upcoming offerings. You can also find me on Instagram for behind the scenes glimpses of my own creative process. All the links are in the show's description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you on the next one. Until then, stay creative. Bye.